Hello and welcome guys to a new episode on SportPredictorFanatic. Today we're going to predict the matches that are going to be played today. Of course, more Champions League matches today and also 2 league matches that are going to be played today. Let's just get straight into it. We're going to start off with the matchup between Sparta Prague and Salzburg. Sparta Prague has had a long road to eventually qualify for the Champions League. They first had to play 3 rounds of qualifying, which of course went well. They first had to beat Shamrock Rovers, which they did 6-2 in aggregate. Then went on to win 4-3 on aggregate against FCSB. And then in the final round beat Malmo FF 4-0 on aggregate, so they did pretty well in the qualifying. Salzburg also had a long road with 2 rounds of qualifying. They did this by beating Twente 5-4 on aggregate and then beating Dynamo Kiev 3-1 on aggregate. Sparta Prague, besides the qualifying, also did well in the league with, out of the 7 league games, 19 points, so only 1 draw. And with that, of course, are first. Salzburg is doing a little worse in the league, with after 4 games 9 points, so 1 loss, 3 wins. So it's not bad either. Sparta Prague and Salzburg have actually met earlier this season in the preseason, which actually ended in a 2-2 draw. The year before that, in a friendly match, the match was won by Salzburg. And actually the other 2 matches these two have played was all the way back in 1997 in the Champions League, where it ended, one ended in a draw and the other one ended in a win for Sparta. I think both teams are quite equal, with maybe a small edge to Salzburg, but because I think Salzburg are alright and they're not in the best form, but they're playing alright, and I think Sparta Prague is in Sparta Prague, I don't know how to say it, is in a really good form. I think this might end in a draw. So I'm gonna go for a draw right here. And then we have Bologna against Shakhtar Donetsk. Bologna is qualified for the Champions League by becoming 5th last season in the Serie A. Shakhtar Donetsk has done this also qualifying by winning the Ukrainian league, which of course isn't known to them. Bologna hasn't had the best start of the season with only 3 points out of 4 games, but Shakhtar also didn't have the best start with 9 points out of 5 league games. And with that, actually, Shakhtar has played 7th at the moment. Bologna and Shakhtar have never played each other in the past. But just like the match before this, I think Bologna have the better squad, but Shakhtar might have a little slightly better form. But I also think Shakhtar Donetsk, of course, has Champions League experience, which Bologna doesn't have. I think this is the first time in 70 years they're in Europe, but I might be wrong with that. But I think this actually is their first Champions League outing. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Shakhtar due to their experience on this stage. Then we have Celtic against Slovan Bratislava. Celtic is qualified for the Champions League by winning, of course, the Scottish League. Slovan Bratislava did this successfully, winning 4 qualifying rounds, which I think is the most in the Champions League. They did first win against Struga 6-3 in aggregate, then NK Celje 6-1 on aggregate, then Apoel and Nicosia 2-0 on aggregate, and finally beat FC Midtjylland, which they beat 4-3 on aggregate. So a long way, but they did well. And Celtic actually have had the perfect start of the season with, out of 6 games, 6 wins as well, with 5 wins in the league and 1 in the cup. And they only actually conceded 1 goal in those 6 matches, which I think was in the cup. So in the how do you say it, in the league they are still unscored. I don't know how to say it. They still have no goal conceded. Let's say like that. Slovan Bratislava, besides the qualifying, also had like a perfect start in the league, where they have almost, by the way, where they have 15 points after 6 games, and with that are first in the league. Celtic and Bratislava have never played each other before, and I think Celtic has a slightly better team, and also like the experience on this stage will get them the win in this matchup. Then, Club Brugge against Borussia Dortmund. Club Brugge has qualified for Champions League by becoming champions of Belgium last season, while Dortmund qualified by becoming 5th in the Bundesliga. Club Brugge had a bad start of the season, with first losing in the Super Cup to Royal Union, but then also only had 1 point in the first 3 games, which was of course not good. But then the last 4 league games were actually won, so they climbed up a little bit there. And that will definitely boost their confidence. Then we have Dortmund, who has had an alright start of the season with 7 points out of the first 3 Bundesliga games, which is alright, but it's not perfect. Brugge and Dortmund have played each other multiple times, with the last 2 being in 2020, where they played each other in the group stage of the Champions League, which were both won by Dortmund with 3-0. They have played each other 9 times in total, with Brugge winning 3 times, Dortmund winning 5 times, and the other one ending in a draw. Brugge, I think, will be happy playing at home, as last season in the Conference League they didn't get beaten in their own home, but they are of course now playing against the runner-up of the Champions League of last season, which was of course Dortmund. So it will be really hard for them, and I think Dortmund clearly have the better team, and the form of the team it's around the same, and I think this will be a win for Borussia Dortmund, but I think this will be a hard-fought win. Then we have Manchester City against Inter Milan. Manchester City, of course, qualified for the Champions League by becoming Premier League champions. Inter did the exact same, but then becoming Serie A champions. Manchester City have had a perfect start of the season, with first winning the Super Cup against town rivals Man United, and then we won all 4 Premier League games as well. Inter started off alright as well, with 8 points in 4 matches, although that's not the start you would want as like a big team. But yeah, they did alright. Manchester City and Inter have met each other only 3 times, which is of course not much, but that is of course due to Manchester City history. The last match was of course in 2023, which was of course the Champions League final, which was of course won by Manchester City. The other time was in 2011, where City also won, and then the first time they played was in 2010, which ended in a win for Inter Milan. Let's talk about it. Let's be fair. I think City have like such an amazing team, so good, and I think they've looked like way better than Inter Milan, who I think drew against. Who was it? I don't know who it was. I think at least not a good team. Well, not the best team, let's say like that, but they drew last weekend. And like Manchester City are just doing so good. I think Manchester City is going to win this matchup. Then we have Paris Saint-Germain against Girona. Paris Saint-Germain, of course, qualified by becoming the champions of France as expected. Girona qualified by becoming 3rd in the La Liga, and with that, for the first time ever qualified in Europe, and they did that straight away in the Champions League, which is of course quite impressive. PSG have had a good beginning of the year with 4 out of 4 matches won in the Liga, and I think also like 18 goals scored or something like that. Girona have started the season a little bit worse with 7 points out of 5 matches. PSG and Girona have actually never met, which of course not weird because, well, Girona didn't play in Europe. But I think PSG are going to win this matchup. And why do I think that? Because I think Girona have not looked the greatest at defending. Let's say their match against Barcelona, it wasn't great defending, and I think PSG can play through something like through a defense like that at the moment. But of course, I also think Girona is really capable of scoring as they did. I think every match they won the La Liga for now, I think they won by a 2-goal deficit, so they definitely can score, but I think PSG are just a more stable team at the moment and will get the win here. Then we have 2 other games being played than the Champions League in the Big 6 leagues, which are Ajax against Fortuna Sittard. Ajax against Fortuna Sittard was a match normally played in the 3rd round of the Eredivisie, but because Ajax had some international duties, I think qualifying for the Europa League, I think it was, they didn't play this match, which of course now being played. But Ajax actually hasn't played in a few weeks, as they of course live in Amsterdam. Well, the club is in Amsterdam, but the police in Amsterdam is on strike, and because they're on strike, there are no home matches being played. But they played the last 2 weeks. They should have played at home, so there was a little bit of a problem. I'm hoping this match goes through because this one is also at home, but I haven't heard that it's going to be cancelled, so let's hope it's not. But yeah, the last match Ajax played was actually on the 29th of August, which was in the Europa League qualifying match, which they of course won. Ajax have now played with that only 2 Eredivisie games, with 1 won and 1 loss. And the other teams have played 5, except if you have like that one game against Ajax still, which of course Fortuna Sittard, their opponents have. We've played 4 matches at this moment and won the first 2, but then lost the last 2. These 2 of course played each other twice last season, with actually both ending in a draw. And actually the last time Fortuna Sittard won against Ajax was in 2000. Since then 12 wins for Ajax and 3 draws. I think Ajax do have the better team, and with that should win this matchup, but I think it's going to be pretty darn hard. I think like no game rhythm, also like not every time, not sure if you couldn't play or not. I can guess that's pretty frustrating, but I think they're gonna get the win right here. Then we have the last matchup, which is gonna be played in the La Liga. It is Real Betis against Getafe. Real Betis and Getafe are playing in a 7th round matchup, which normally would have been played like exactly a week later, so 7 days later. But because Betis are playing in the Conference League next week, I think this match has been put forward. But yeah, Betis has started the season with 5 points out of the 4 La Liga games they've played. They of course qualified for the Conference League, which they did pretty easily against also a pretty unknown team with 5-0 on aggregate against Krivbas. Well, Getafe has started the season a little worse, with only 3 points out of 4 matches. Last season these two played each other twice, with actually both ending in a draw. I think Betis have the better team, but they are not yet on their top form. But I think they're about to get a win here. I think they should get a win here. Like, their team should be higher up, and I think they're going to make sure of that right now. And then getting into the betting part of this video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting money on 4 of the Champions League matches. And those matches are Sparta Prague against Salzburg. I put that on a draw. The odds for that is 3.70. Then Shakhtar Donetsk to win their match. The odds for that is 4.25. Then Dortmund to win at their match. The odds for that is 2.06. And then Manchester City to win their match. The odds for that is 1.55. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting €5 on today. So what I'm going to do is 0.5 on doubles, 0.5 on trebles, like my favorite tactic. And if there are 2 right, it depends on what matches are right, but I will not make money. But if there are 3 right, like yesterday, by the way, we did get some profit yesterday. It wasn't much because, well, I put in €5 and one match was wrong. But I mean, I've got €2 profit. And already like this month, if we also take the Big 6 leagues with it, after one weekend, I'm on profit. I mean, just saying. But no, I'm going to be putting 0.5 on doubles and trebles with that. That is in total €5. And I think we can win around 70 in total. So let's hope we get that. Of course, Sparta Prague against Salzburg draw and Shakhtar Donetsk to get their win are big gambles, while Dortmund and City are a little more stable, but you never know in football, so it's gonna be close. But with this, I wanna thank you all for watching. Please have a good day, and I will see you.